This is the To Health With That Naturally Healthy in No Time podcast for big health topics taken in small bites. I'm your host, naturopathic Dr. Amy Newsel, and this is Season 1, all about the MTHFR mutation. This week, we're going to talk about the way to approach healing with MTHFR. So working with MTHFR can be a very different experience for every person, but it does help to have a system or a method to tackle this large and diffuse problem. Let's face it, MTHFR is tangled up in all of the big health issues that we face in the modern world. That's inflammation, sensitivity and reactivity, oxidative stress and antioxidant status, nutritional status, and, God help us all, mood and neurotransmitter function. When a health issue has this type of scope, it helps to approach it in a clear and systematic way so that we're prioritizing the biggest and most impactful steps first, instead of trying to improve every symptom with no regard for the whole person. Because of this, I tend to move from general to specific in kind of a 3-phase process. Phase 1 is changes that are general to all MTHFR mutants. So things that you've heard me talk about a million times, like eliminating folic acid in your diet, introducing food sources of natural folate, and beginning to balance methylation. Phase 2 is changes that are specific to your MTHFR basic state. So we're still working on balancing methylation and compensating for your MTHFR, but it's working in a way that's a little bit more specific to your physiology and the way that MTHFR is expressing in you as a human, not just the things that MTHFR can do generally. And phase 3 is changes that are truly specific to you. This is where we start to look at issues that are highlighted in your case. So if you're an MTHFR mutant with an overlying picture of structural pain, hormonal migraines, and estrogen dominance, your picture is very different from someone, even someone in the same basic state group, who has cardiac issues and anxiety, right? Some of your symptoms will have become better or even resolved fully with the basic steps, but anything that hasn't can be addressed specifically. And this is kind of when we're doing those things like food sensitivity elimination, antioxidant reviews, hormone balancing, and managing symptoms, right? Getting down to the nitty-gritty. There are, of course, exceptions to the rule. There are times when this order isn't right for the person standing in front of me. Always we do begin with the basics, but in some people it's clear that one particular aspect of their health needs to be made a priority from day one. So it could be mental and emotional state in a person who's lost their joy or a person who's scared to leave their home. Could be hormone balance in a person with bigger hormone issues or who's trying to get into a good place to have a baby. And it could be inflammation in a person who's having pain that interferes with their functioning. The system isn't rigid, but it's a general guideline that helps to streamline the process of moving towards health. I mean, let's face it, healing can get really messy. And often, starting with the particulars of symptoms before you actually do the generals of, underlying causes, ends up in a scenario that I see all the time. I like to call it supplement soup. Somewhere in my first visit with a client, they usually send me this complex chart of supplements that they're taking. Usually about a third of them are the things that everybody hears so much about: fish oil, vitamin D, CoQ10, vitamin C, whatnot. These might have been recommended by another practitioner, they might just have been picked up along the way, you never know. Another third were things that have been recommended by specific practitioners over the years. Often, the person who's taking them doesn't remember what they were for, or may not notice that they do anything, and a lot of them have been part of that person's routine for so long, they've just kind of faded into the background. Then, there's the additional category that I like to call desperate attempts. My neighbor said this helped her when she had blah, 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 so I'm trying it. Or, this one had a really great commercial, I saw it on TV. Or it was suggested by the guy in the vitamin shop, or my mother-in-law swears by it, and so on. What I see is often a full-on spreadsheet of 12, 18, sometimes 30 or more supplements. This represents a giant commitment on every level. A commitment of time, decisions, energy, money, and not least of all, metabolic resources. Not only do you have to shop for, buy, and pay for all these supplements, you also have to organize and sort all of the pills, powders, and goops. You have to schedule them into your routine in a meaningful way to get the most out of them. And then your body has to do a tremendous amount of metabolic work, digesting, absorbing, processing, utilizing, rejecting, or eliminating those substances. In every way, taking more things than you need is just as hard on your body as not getting the things you need. So if you've just walked to the drawer, cupboard, or storage unit where you keep all of your various pills, powders, and whatnot, and noticed that you have enough things to supply a small army, then you may also have fallen into the supplement soup. If you're working with a practitioner, this is the time when you sit down with them and do a supplement review with the goal of eliminating 50% or more. If you're not working with a practitioner, then here's how we're going to approach this. I want you to divide your supplements into 4 piles. Pile 1 is things that make a noticeable difference. Pile 2 is things that don't. Pile 3 is things that don't make a noticeable difference, but everybody's supposed to take them. That's where like the fish oil goes and the vitamin D. And pile 4 is things that don't make a difference, and they're also in my multivitamin. So for pile 1, the things that make a difference, keep them. They're making your life better, right? If you see a positive impact from a supplement, then that is worth taking. That's great. Things that don't make a noticeable difference, just stop them. Stop them for 2 weeks. And if you still don't notice a difference, you can probably get rid of those. The things that don't make a noticeable difference, but you know you're supposed to be taking them, right? Like fish oil, CoQ10, vitamin C, blah, blah, blah. If it's 1 or 2 things, great. Use your judgment. If it's 12 things, start making hard decisions. Eliminate at least half of them, and more if you can. This is all still work that your body has to do. And in most cases, that energy could be better spent elsewhere. And the last pile, these are the things that don't make a difference, but they're also ingredients in a good multivitamin, right? Like vitamin C. Vitamin C is great. We all need it. Most of us get a fair bit from our food, provided that you eat a reasonably healthy diet. But it's also in your multi. Maybe you can shelf the additional vitamin C and just take it when, say, cold and flu season is coming around. You don't need to take that every day. The things that don't make a difference and they're ingredients in a good multi, ditch them. Replace them with a good multi, right? Take 1 thing instead of 15. The goal when you get to a supplement soup sort of place is to take stock and cut out half, if not more, of the stuff that you've built up. Very few people actually thrive with a whole handful of supplements, and often people end up taking things that conflict with each other, cancel each other out, or aren't doing anything anyway. Plus, so many people are willing to suggest supplements, but not so many of them ask you to stop them. Fewer is better. There is a caveat here. This process does not apply, ever, to prescription medications. If you want to decrease the number of those that you're taking, which is also a good idea, it's vital that you work with your prescribing physician or physicians. Another big exception, and this is not so much to the supplement soup problem, but an exception to the 3-phase program, is food sensitivity elimination. In an ideal world, they would be one of the first things people would do, but the sad truth is that elimination diets are hard. They take a big, big commitment. And because of that, I don't generally start asking people to do them until they're already seeing some improvement, right? You need a few energetic resources to actually make this kind of commitment. I want people to feel better, see a few results, and generally be ready for this. The goal in working from more general to more specific is to make the minimum amount of changes with the greatest impact on your health. It also means we're often bypassing the quick fix, take this pill strategy in favor of the more meaningful, but also sometimes more difficult life change, right? There is a time and a place for a quick fix or a Band-Aid, but it's not anybody's long-term plan. It shouldn't be anybody's long-term plan. Speaking of long-term plans, thank you for listening. And if you're interested in joining the beta group for my MTHFR 101 class, sign up on the mailing list for the website to healthwiththat.com or email me directly. Amy, A-M-Y, at tohealthwiththat.com. We'll be ready to go this spring, which is 2021 for anybody listening to the reruns. So the beta group will be a great opportunity to get in there, get some feedback, and also help to make the class better for future generations of MTHFR mutants. Thanks so much for listening.